this take another question later maybe. But for acquisition, so does the role of neuroplasticity, what is the role of neuroplasticity further in, say, acquisition of language? Because you say that the child regrets, but now after, say, repeated speech therapy, mostly play therapy, the child has picked up. He's way behind, is clear, but he's picking up words. I still feel that for him, like you said, words are mere sounds. So he's just imitating, verbally imitating those. But do you think the acquisition of speech, I mean, there is, one can't really predict much, but do you think it's possible, considering there is so much research on neuroplasticity of the brain, and that they can, so do you think they can actually pick up?
Yeah, okay. Neuroplasticity, new word, yeah? Sorry.
Can I pile on to that same question, neuroplasticity?
Yeah.
She was asking specifically with language.
Yeah.
Mine is more general. One of the things that's coming up is as a form of therapy for children with autism or neurodevelopmental issues. We're talking about movement therapy will help the brain improve cognitively, make more brain connections, and the brain will grow. That's the idea behind, for example, brain gym or the Anadvanya method, or even yoga to a certain extent. So how far is that true? Doing physical body movements to trigger development in the brain?
So neuroplasticity, what is neuroplasticity? So I'll give you some example first, that when neuroplasticity is there and when it is not there. So when babies are born, they pick up कि हमारे चारों तरफ, the way people talk, the language they talk, yeah, around the child, and they pick up the sounds of that language, yeah, the way people are talking, and they pick up the accent of the language, the way people are talking, and there are some sounds that we have in Hindi and they're not there in English, yeah? And likewise, there are few sounds which are there in English and we don't have in Hindi. There are lots of such sounds which are there in Japanese and are not there in Hindi or English, yeah? So, the interesting finding is that children seem to be able to learn those sounds up to the age of about 2 years. After that, we can learn English and we can learn Japanese, but we will not pick up those little sounds. Yeah? We see that in regional languages as well. Yeah? I don't want to laugh at any group, yeah, because we are very good at laughing at others. Yeah? In India, we are very, very good at laughing at others. I don't want to laugh. But you know how people from some place can't say sha and sa and za, and they always say it wrongly. Yeah? They could live in somewhere else, but they will always say it, yeah, in that way. I'm talking about that kind of thing. So it seems that before the age of 2 years, if you learnt it, you learnt it. After that, these people are talking in Hindi, yeah, from wherever they are from, but they just can't get that right. Yeah, so it is like neuroplasticity for that sound, just for that sound. I'm not talking about the whole neuroplasticity. For that sound was there up to 2 years. After that, finished. Yeah. After that, you can learn sounds, language. But when I say to people there that we pronounce T in Hindi, ta 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 da, yeah? They say what? Yeah? Say they can't hear the difference between those different types of T, yeah? Tum and tum and tum, yeah? So they can't hear the difference. They hear just one sound. They say, but you're saying only one. They really cannot hear it. Yeah? So their neuroplasticity for that one thing is closed. Yeah? So neuroplasticity for other things like accent. Yeah? After the age of 8 years, you can send a child to somewhere, anywhere, a different part of the world. They will not pick up the accent of the local people. They will talk in English. I talk in English in Indian accent. I have been there for 30 years, more than 30 years. I still talk like English, yeah? Like Indian talk English in the same way. So I haven't picked up the accent there. Maybe little bit. Pronunciation and accent are different things. My pronunciation has changed a little bit, but my accent is Indian. So my neuroplasticity for accent, that door was closed about 8 years. Yeah? So what's the message? The message is that neuroplasticity is not one thing. There seems to be different types of neuroplasticity for different things. That's one message. The second message is that even if the child doesn't get it, what we call the sensitive periods of development. Yeah? We say the sensitive period for language development starts from birth onwards, yeah? And carries on till say first few months, first 2 years, first 4 years. I'll give you one more example. The sensitive period for vision. Yeah? If a child has a problem, squint in one eye, it's a good example because useful. Squint in one eye, and the child can't see because to see things from both eyes, we need to see the same thing from both eyes. Yeah? Then all the information gets collected together one bit in our brain. So we are seeing with our brain. The eye is just a little camera, yeah, for us to see, but it's the brain. So if after the age of 4 years, if the squint is not corrected, this eye, there is no problem with it, but it stops seeing. You cannot correct it anymore because the brain has said, you useless eye, I want to see here, you're giving me information from there, you're switched off. Yeah? So the neuroplasticity for that eye is closed at 4 years. So I've given you 3 examples of 3 different types of neuroplasticity closing doors at different points in time. Yeah? Even after that, people try, and what they do, they force the right eye, the correct eye, they put a patch on the correct one. So they're forcing the wrong eye to stay and send information to the brain. Yeah? Not permanently, but like in 2 hours a day, they will put a patch on the child's eye. Yeah? Like hemiplegia, children who have hemiplegia, they ignore their hand which is weak. Only work with the hand which is strong. After a while, this hand has become totally useless. So what physiotherapists advise in the beginning, they constrain the good hand a bit. So they force the weaker hand to work. Yeah? Because they don't want to miss out on that neuroplasticity for the hand. Yeah? And orthoptists who work with the eyes don't want to miss out on the neuroplasticity for that eye. So they are forcing that one to work and to practice. So the message here seems to be that while the neuroplasticity is less or is closing, if there is a weakness, then giving practice and working and making it happen can bring back. Yeah? There is even more drastic example that if children's half of the brain is damaged, and the brain, we say that language comes from the left side of the brain. Most children, right-handed people, language in the left side of the brain. There are children, unke left brain is damaged. The right brain takes over the function of the left brain. So there is neuroplasticity. There is, yeah, it's maybe not as good as those who have both sides working, but it's not missing completely. Yeah? So the message seems to be that neuroplasticity is not one thing. It's a different thing for different skills and abilities. Only for some things the doors close early, not for everything. Otherwise, I would have given you a few more examples. Yeah, there are only few things for which it's settled that the door closes. For most other things, the brain remains a learning thing. I know a lot of people who learned second language or third language when they are grown up. Right? People say that learning time for second language is around up to 10 years or 12 years. I know a lot of people who learned it after that. So what happened there? The neuroplasticity didn't close. They just made a bit more effort. Yeah, there was more structure to their learning. Structure, good word. There was more effort to their learning. And another good word, there was more motivation to their learning. They wanted to learn the second language. Yeah. So the message is, if you can create good structure, if you can encourage, if you can put in effort, and if you can somehow, and that's the hardest thing, if you can motivate the child to do, yeah, it's the hardest thing. Very, yeah, I know it. So that's why I didn't just say it and move on to the next one. I want to acknowledge that this is really a hard thing. But if you can do those three things, neuroplasticity is there for you. You don't need extra vitamins. You don't need special diets for neuroplasticity. Yeah? There is no such thing. The extra vitamins or a special diet is going to get. If that was the case, I'll be a rich man prescribing those things. Trust me. नहीं, मैं क्यों उसको मना करूंगा? लोग कहते हैं कि ये न्यूट्रिशन बहुत, रात ही मुझको किसी ने एक पेपर दिया कि ये देने से ऐसा हो जाएगा, ये देने से ऐसा हो जाएगा. And I don't know everything. I know it. I don't know everything. Yeah. But this has been there for every disorder. I know this thing for I know research going back to 50 years. This has been there. In children with Down syndrome, a study की गई. There was a study. Half the parents, blind study वो कहते हैं, parents don't know they're getting the real stuff or they're getting something just dummy, yeah? Sugar in the capsule. Half the parents were given high dose vitamins, antioxidants and all these things that people now talk about. The paper given last night was also by antioxidant in the capsule, and half were given just sugar. Yeah? Parents didn't know उनको क्या दिया जा रहा, what they were getting. And then they were asked how their child was progressing compared to the child was progressing before. So they were asked before they were given how the child is progressing, and they were asked after they were given how their child is. They were then asked whether they think they were given the real stuff or they were given the dummy thing. Yeah? 40% of people, करीब आधे लोग जिन्हें सिर्फ शुगर की दी गई थी, उन्होंने कहा हमारे बच्चे को असली चीज मिली जिससे उसे फायदा हुआ. 40%. Yeah?
There's one such study happening in Chennai also with children with Down syndrome. Maybe I should connect
Yeah.
with Dr. Ajay.
Yeah. So, large number. I mean, you then realize, मैं जब छोटा था तो I used to steal my mother's homeopathic sweet tablets and eat them randomly. I have eaten tons of aconite, bryonia, belladonna, this, another, and every. I know the names of them because of that. Because she said, what happened to this aconite? I don't know. But they were nice and sweet and sugary pills, and I ate a lot of them. So, and randomly, I didn't care what was for what. Yeah, I didn't know what was for what. They were in a nice little wooden box, with the holes in them and things. So my mother used to read and seriously think about which one she should give. And she'd say, you should take only this. I said, but I've taken the other 6 as well. So, we call it placebo. The power of placebo, the power of faith, the power of belief is very strong. So I want you to have faith in one thing. Yeah? One thing. And the faith in the effort you make. Yeah? If you really have faith in the effort you make, the understanding, your effort, your involvement, your attempt to motivate the child, have faith in that it will work. And it works. Yeah? And that's the faith you need.
Shouldn't give importance to the diet? There are so many different diets, GAP diet, SCD diet, and the GSF diet, and the bio. There's so many supplements,
Okay.
minerals, vitamins. We shouldn't give importance to the
Okay, I'll talk about diet in a minute. Yeah, I'll talk about diet. Yeah. That I will talk about diet as a separate thing, but I just wanted to say about a few things that where it comes from. Yeah. So I told you about that study. That study is an eye opener for me, and whenever I mention it, I think it's a good study. That one about the placebo effect. Yeah.
Add on to neuroplasticity, it is said that by 5 or 6 years of age, we can make children learn as much as possible, and the early intervention things and all of those things. Does that mean that the neuroplasticity tends to decrease maybe after 6 or 7? Because early intervention is very much stressed on
True.
disabilities.
True.
They say that after 5 or 6, the learning decreases. Why is that so?
Yeah, but then you have to ask the question, for what? Learning for what? Because I said neuroplasticity is different for different things. Yeah, there are parts of brain that are still developing when the child is 14. Yeah, and there are parts of brain that I believe are still developing in me. So the neuroplasticity is highest in the early childhood, highest level, because that is the time our brain is hungry for information. Yeah, is hungry to listen, talk, socialize, practice. Yeah, learn, and that is why early intervention matters. That is why we say as early as possible you do. And as I said, it gets harder. Yeah, with time, neuroplasticity does decrease, but not in everything, not in the same way. And second language is learned in much later age. And I mentioned those 3 things that seem to push that door open again, yeah, for learning and neuroplasticity. Yeah. Physical activity and sensory activity. Yeah, क्योंकि neuroplasticity की बात कर रहे थे, तो we'll take that question. And after that question, there are some question list, and then I want to take some questions about Down syndrome and some about older children, yeah, adolescents. Some questions about older children, adolescents, and so first of all, physical sensory activity. See, our body gets feedback, yeah, all the time, and when I said that so when I said that the environment builds our connections, this is also our environment, our physical activity, yeah, and sensory activity, yeah, is our environment, yeah. So environment is not just what you do, but what the child does when they are playing or, you know, being active and things like that. And all that is giving us information to our brain to make connections, yeah. And so physical activity is also making our brain active, yeah. It's making it more responsive to learn, yeah. And you know that if you lie down for 20 minutes after food, and if I try to tell you something, you'll fall asleep, you'll be snoring, yeah. But if I get you to do a little bit of physical activity and this and other, yeah. लोग करते हैं ऐसा, जैसे lecture में when sometimes we whole day long course, I get people to stand up and jump and do this and other, and then they can listen better, yeah. So we know that by doing physical activity, we become more responsive, yeah. Sensory stimulation as well, कि same way, physical stimulation, sensory stimulation, is that because it's using our brain, And it's using our brain in a way that the brain wants it and likes it. Yeah? The brain becomes more active and more responsive. That's true. Much more likely that physical activity and doing sensory activities makes brain more active than taking some high dose vitamins or something like that. More likely these two things. Yeah? I'll put my money on these. Yeah? So, but again, there is limitation to everything. Yeah? So maybe this becomes, so what you do is you use this as like a stimulator, and then do your learning activity, then you do what the child likes doing, yeah? Give time for that, then do this activity, then do this, yeah? So you plan, yeah? Thinking. So जो बात मैं कहता हूँ ज़्यादातर पेरेंट्स से कि अगर बच्चे को कोई परेशानी है तो सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत, और उन्हीं बच्चों को नहीं, सब बच्चों के बारे में सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत इस बारे में है कि सोचने की, आपस में माता पिता को मिलकर सोचने की और फिर प्लानिंग करने की, नहीं कि हमें क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, और उसे ऐसे करें जिसमें सब लोग शामिल हों. सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आप पिताजी शाम को वापस आए फिर हाँ तुमने सब करा था, म्यूजिक खिलाना, ये खिलाना, खाना खिलाना, कपड़े बदलना, इसको ले जाना, वापस लाना, फिर ये सब कर दिया ना, ठीक है चलो अब फिल्म देखते हैं बैठ के. It isn't like this. It is something that has to happen, yeah, every day. दूसरी बात, ये सारी बातें इस तरह से, you have to do these things in a way which is part of your daily activities as much as possible. Otherwise, trust me, you will run out of steam, if not in 3 months, then in 6 months or in 1 year. Yeah? So unless you think and plan, this is our lifestyle, and this is what we can do, you're not going to be able to maintain any of physical, sensory, or this, that, or other activity. So thinking and planning and weaving it into your lifestyle. And when you do it, think about yourself as well. Yeah? About your mental and physical health, and about your other children as well. Because if we ignore those things, then nothing is going to work.
I hope everyone heard that.
I
said, I hope everyone heard that.
Yeah. Then nothing is going to work, because you'll just collapse. You'll have a breakdown. Yeah? So I say this to parents in different words, all kind of words, and I keep checking with parents that they are working in this way. Yeah? You got a long-term effort to make. You got a lot of thinking and planning to do. Yeah?